Julian Nayiga, a student of Public Administration and Management at Ikoma University, under the continuity of government and policies of East African states. I'll be discussing a question that goes like this: analyze the relationship between the three branches of government in Uganda. Highlight some of the major events where the three or two have been at head or disagree. Success stories of the three branches events. A landmark of the three have come. I'll start right away. The government of Uganda is made up of three arms of government, namely executive, the judiciary, and the legislature, whereby the executive powers are invested into the president of Uganda, in other words called head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The president is responsible at implementing and enforcing laws written by the parliament. Furthermore, the legislature is where we find the legislature is an other body headed by the Speaker of Parliament, and it is the third position of the hierarchy, whereby the first position we have the president, the second we have the vice president, the third we have the speaker, then the fourth we have the chief justice, and he falls under the judiciary, the body that acts independently. We shall be talking about the relationship of the three branches. Each arm of the government is meant to carry out its powers and function independently but in complementary manner to the other two arms. This is as developed in the doctrine of the separation of powers. The Constitution of Uganda makes provision for separation of powers by providing distinctly of the function of each arm of government. It is also clear that there is no rigid separation in function and powers. The separation of powers between the executive and the legislature may sometimes overlap. However, the Constitution provides for strict separation of powers between the judiciary one on one hand and the legislature on the other hand. The separation is embodied in the doctrine of the independence of the judiciary in Article 128 of the Constitution and other constitutional provisions contained in Chapter 8 theory. Here we show how the relation is, but in this case, the fact that the judiciary is supposed to be independently, but then still at one point the legislature comes in where it need to be. And the other point is the fact that the parliament stroke legislature has the powers and often exercises it to limit the jurisdiction of courts does not mean that the judicial independence is thereby affected. The limitation of the judicial powers may be politically unjust and could lead to arbitrary actions being taken by persons other than judges, but it does not involve the enhancement on the independence of the judiciary. Well, here we see that despite the fact that the legislature at one point tries to involve in the ruling of the judiciary, this is to avoid to eliminate personal gains, political influence that may bring about the affection of the country. Furthermore, we shall look at the major events where the two have been adhered. We shall first talk about the executive and the judiciary. Uh, I'll cite out an event where there was a president, the annual memorial lecture of the first Ugandan chief Benedicto Chiwanuka. Here, His Excellency Museveni admitted, excuse me, did. We're talking about the memorial lecture of the first Ugandan Chief Justice Benedicto Chiwanuka. His Excellency Museveni admitted that his government his government had sometimes defied court orders and that there was a need to amend the prerequisite for the independence of the judiciary, arguing that the concept was being abused by some other justice. Here the president was trying to show us how the fact that these two are independently, how they collide in some of the things they do. You get how they conflict, how they come to disagreement. So he was questioning the independence of the judiciary. The other point where I can cite out is about where the judiciary and the legislature come to heads. The first one was about the executive and the judiciary. Still, here we are talking about the judiciary and the legislature. The Constitutional Court on August 1st, 2014, ruled that the country's Anti-Homosexuality Act, otherwise known as AHA, was unconstitutional. The court nullified the law because in December 2013, Parliament passed it without the necessary acquisition as required by the law. Here the judiciary refused to accept the law that the parliament had passed. You get, so due to the fact that it wasn't consulted and it wanted it, yeah, so it refused to put it as a law. It didn't put it into the books. It's a complete law. This is another event that is currently happening at the moment, whereby they're trying to pass it and different bodies have come out to make contribution. So that's another point. So we talk about the success stories whereby these branches that have been able to bring out. The first success story is about the legislature. The Emyoga program across the country was poorly implemented. Members of parliament have unanimously agreed. The legislature during the parliament on Thursday, 16 September 2021, faulted the government for the systematic failure in the implementation failure, excuse me, that the Emyoga was intended to support different people like the market vendors, the tax drivers, carpenters, border riders, women, performing artists, and other people in particular who came together in form of savings and credit cooperative societies following the report of irregulation in the implementation of programs. Legislatures were tasked to appraise the impact of the Emyoga funds in their constitutions within a week prior to commencement of the March acquisition of anticipated shilling of 49,490 billion. Polish development model. Here we're talking about some of the success stories in the legislation. This is one of them, the Nayiga. It was a program that was brought out by the president to help different people and to eradicate poverty in people. You get in different sectors. We talked about the market vendors, the porta different people, in other ways, the low earners. This new girl is another success story in that this has helped different people in their savings circle. People have been able to develop themselves. The money that's given them, it's taken back at a low interest of 5%, if I'm not mistaken, and this can help them to carry out different activities in different places with this money, and otherwise, first, to also help them. We shall talk about the other success story in the executive. Average real economic growth since 1986 to 2019 is 6.1%, way above the average of most countries in the region, and the economy has expanded 9 times since 1986 from shilling 14.4 trillion to 128.5 trillion. This is a progress in the economy since the executive is part and it's taking care of the economy. Factories have grown from 80 to 4,920 by January 2020. Electricity generation is up from 150 watts generated in 1986 to 1,254, and resultingly the population accessing electricity has increased to 42%, up to 5 from 5 to 6% in 1991. Here we're talking about the other factors. We are comparing from different years to different years, like in the middle. Like we talk about the factories from when you look at in 1986 there were few, then 2020 whereby they've gone to around 80 factories plus. Now they're not just 80, but before they were few, but now they have increased. The parliament has always taken an initiative to see that there is a greater development. They have tried to invite investors from other countries to try to give tax holidays to different investors. This has helped in the development of the economy. Exports have increased, imports have increased, and different things have also increased. Now we shall talk about the judiciary. The judiciary adopted the modern technology to enhance the efficiency of cost management. It has introduced case management information system, in other words, which is can be termed as CMIS, that integrates electrical filing, case tracking, and information management to speed up processing of cases. Here there is a development whereby from analog to digital, okay, whereby those years people had to come to court. Prisoners had to always come to court to get to access the hearing. People always had to come to court. But according to today's technology, the technology that's on way, it has been adopted by the judiciary, whereby it has been able to, prisoners can stay in prison but still attend the court cases, the court hearings. like for example the hearings of Saint and other, they not all the time they always came to court. Sometimes they stayed where they are, but then still access the court hearings. That's a new law that has been adopted by the judiciary. Furthermore, protection of human rights through its decision and judgment. The judiciary has contributed to the protection and promotion of human rights in Uganda. It has ruled against discrimination practices and in favor of marginalizing groups such as women and children. Well, the judiciary, furthermore, according to this statement, the judiciary has improved on its ways. The human rights has enforced human rights protection in different groups of people like the children and the women. These are, we consider them the inferior people. You get, they are being protected, they are being given their rules, their rights, they are being taken in different societies, they are accepted in different places, positions. They have also been able to take up different positions, different organizations. Well, that is part of my discussion. We have talked about the success stories, about the legislature, and the judiciary, and the executive, the different places, and also the failures, how they failed out. We didn't talk about the failures, but still, how that come to head notes where the judiciary collided with the legislature and also in different places. So I thank you very much for your time and for your